Welcome to the mountain in us, where the journey gets its voice. I am Taran Singh. This season, we take on new trails for deep rooted reflections on our passions, paths, and purpose. Together, let's explore the thrills, ascents, and descents of our uncharted adventures. Hey, everybody. Today, my guest is Claire Evans, a photographer passionate about telling stories through her art, a Fresno native. She is a dedicated advocate for making Fresno vibrant, visible, and welcoming. Welcome. I'm so glad, Claire, you're here and look forward to our conversation, The Call of the Frame.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So, Fresno is your place on this planet from the very first click. For most of us Americans. Can you paint the picture of this valley and the abundance it brings to us?
Yeah, I grew up here, so sometimes it's kind of hard to paint a picture because it's just so normal to me. But yeah, Fresno is it's in the Central Valley. I think it's the biggest city in the Central Valley, but it's home to a lot of agriculture. So there's ag surrounding the whole city, lots of fields with lots of big crops. Yeah, it's really hot. A
Yeah.
lot of time, super hot here.
And the valley, right? The valley is sandwiched between the Yosemite, the valley, the mountain, right? So it has Yosemite towards the east and some of the lower San Andreas Mountains on
Yeah.
the west, right? So that's why the valley is the valley, right? So it's like one of the biggest valleys on the planet. That's what I know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And everyone always likes to say why people love Fresno a lot of time is because it's close to all the other things. So not necessarily that they actually like Fresno, but that it's close to LA or San Francisco or the mountains. So
Yeah. And the river Merced pretty much runs, I think, through the southern tip of the tip, or at the southern or I think, northern tip of Fresno. But you did give us a hint about the agriculture. Can when you drive around in Fresno, especially outskirts now, since it's expanding and eating up a lot of agriculture land, and what kind of produce do you see? What kind of, plantation of fruit trees and all of that is around it? For us, those who've never been to Fresno, especially I know in Feb when everything is white and because of the almond blooms, right? So,
mm.
what kind of blooms you see in your spring, especially? I'm so curious to know that, and how do you capture them?
Blooms in the spring. Yeah, I mean, there's like the cherry blossoms and honestly, I'm not too sure about those. I know we have a lot of like almond trees and a lot of grapes. That's like a huge one. Oranges are big too, and then smaller crops. But yeah, spring
Yeah,
I think it's just those cherry blossoms. I don't really know. I haven't seen much other than that.
yeah. No, and you're right. There's so much to see in Fresno, raisins and whatnot. But the other thing that Fresno is shaped up is that it is such a welcoming city to so many different communities. And you grew up here, right, in this ocean of diversity. Tell us how you've seen that evolution of Fresno and its impact on you as a photographer, because your stories are also not plain vanilla. It is so diverse stories that you pick up. So has that happened with the growth spur in Fresno? What did uh, what what transpired in Fresno and what transpired in you to capture some of these unique stories that we see on your feed all the time?
Yeah, I think the more I photograph, the more I like refine why I shoot and what I want to document. And I think definitely like the growth and expansion, like with that, a lot of things get forgotten or because of like urban sprawling, people are headed further north or south and like really pushing away from older parts of Fresno. And so those like neighborhoods and communities get neglected a lot. And so I think, yeah, like you were saying, like with it growing, I feel like it's really important to document what's already here, what's been here, who's been here, and the ways that people have, you know, survived in those environments where, you know, things are slowly being forgotten or abandoned. So,
And you mentioned that one of those stories about Japantown that the high-speed railway would have just crushed it, right? So can you give us a little bit about that too, like how that was such a unique documentation opportunity, but also such a learning opportunity for you and for the rest of us to understand the history behind some of the things that have gone in the making of Fresno.
yeah, I think I mean, I'm not the best. I don't have the most knowledge on that, but I just remember, with Japantown, like that's one of our oldest neighborhoods in Fresno, and they started doing the high speed rail and kind of cutting right through it. But that was really, that's it's no fun to see those big infrastructures come in to these historical neighborhoods or buildings because it really disrupts the place and the people there.
And you as a photographer landed on doing what you're doing today is you mentioned that walking the city was part and parcel of your life in early growth period in Fresno. So what ha, what got you to camera and how does walking motivate you to click? I want to learn a little more about the recipe of what is powering Claire, and it looks like walking is powering you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's definitely how it started off. I love walking and would walk a lot through the neighborhoods. And then I got a little point and shoot camera and I just started taking pictures of stuff I would see on my walk. And then I got really addicted to it and I really liked it. And so then just progressed from there. But yeah, walking was definitely the start of like documenting. And then again, like as I've grown, it's not as much walking now as it is like connecting with coworkers or friends or, friends of friends and more documenting their life and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that evolution, I think I want to double click on that evolution from going from point and click to a subject, and now you're going to individuals and they are opening up to you. How
Mhm.
was that journey? Was it what was it first for the first time doing it? Did you have the chills? How did Claire
Yeah.
approach the first subject? And if you can share, or like how did you find the first subject? Because that I think is very tough as an artist to go from this cold mode to a hot mode now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely scary. I always tell people like it never gets easier. Like I'm always scared to ask for a photograph from someone. And I mean, even in the street, like again, when I was walking and I would do it, it was it was scary, but I think it felt less risky because I didn't know them or I didn't have a relationship with them. So if they said no, like it wasn't the biggest deal. Whereas now it feels more, like there feels like there's more at risk because it's people that I know or like it's family and stuff. So in that way, it's more vulnerable for me and for them because, I don't want them to feel like they're obligated to because we know each other or what if they don't like the photo after I take it. And so it's always a scary process to me, but I think I always go back to like, if I don't ask, like I'll never know. So like as long as you ask and you come with humility and that yeah, I think that's all you can ask for. And I think it's got me a lot of places just asking. So
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Asking is the key to opening up the doors. And you mentioned, right, that you take pictures. Do you of the families that you are or people that you figured out? Do you do you have a pre-planned story in mind beforehand? Do you do your research prior to the families or whoever your subject is, or you say okay, or you're more in the moment, hey, I'm just going to be there and click some pictures and we'll figure out the story as it happens? How or do you do both?
I think it's much more wherever the wind takes me. So there's not a lot of planning involved. And I think this is the part that is always hard to like explain to people because, you know, yeah, it's just, I don't even know how to, nothing's quite planned other than maybe like, I know my coworkers are inviting me to a barbecue at their place. So in my mind, I'm already like, okay, I'm definitely going to bring my camera. They know I'm going to bring my camera. So things like that more, or
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
think that's it's, or like I documented my brothers on like Thanksgiving because I knew I was going to see them. So it is, I guess it's way less. It's the stories. I mean, they're all there, and then you document it, and then I think it's much more of a reflective process for me to see like what common themes I have in all of my work, or if I look back. So yeah, I think it's definitely more reflective
yeah,
when I decide to put a body of work together because I'm not a planner, that's for
yeah.
sure. But
Look,
I'm trying,
yeah,
but it's definitely wherever the wind takes me, I'm going.
yeah. That's a good way to put it. And in terms of, as you look at the subjects that you have, photographed over a period of time, was there any moment that you especially remember, hey, Taran, this is something that really happened, and I didn't know that this was something that I would be ever a witness to, and it was such a great experience for me. I'm sure there must be some stories that you have picked up that are both funny and scary, or reflective and like out of this world, because your pictures have some of the pictures that I've seen and on your feed, they're full of life, but they're also full of randomness. Like they didn't happen because you planned it. You just clicked a picture because you were there. And I want to
Mhm.
know, like, are there stories in your mind about those some of those times where you have had, great opportunity not just to click,
Yeah.
but also remember some great stories along.
I think one story the first one that pops up to mind was my friend Kiwi. I had documented her a few times at the skate park with some of my friends, and she skates and stuff. And then I remember telling her, like, oh, I'm documenting another friend and her like traditional wear. And then Kiwi was like, oh, like you should come document me in my traditional like Hmong wear. She's Hmong. And so I was like, okay, cool. So she invited me over to her house and we went into the garage and she picked out, an outfit. And then we went back into her bedroom and she put it on. And I think that was like a really beautiful moment. And I didn't know what I was necessarily like showing up to. Like, I just showed up to her house and knew that she would have traditional long wear on, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
And then it was really beautiful too. She started playing her guitar because she's also part of a few bands. And I think what was really cool in that moment was to document her in her traditional wear, but also doing the things that she loves that's like not within her culture or things that she said is just kind of like frowned upon.
Yeah.
So I think that crossover was beautiful. And,
Yeah.
it was a sweet moment. I was glad I was able to document it. And she has that photo now. And
Yeah, no, and Hmong, a culture, especially of Southeast Asia, and having somebody in Fresno that knows traditionally how to dress up in that and can skateboard and can also play the guitar and is part of a brand, right? That is a unique
yeah,
person and a unique personality carrying so much culture and so much history along with it. It must be good. And for audience, we just we should all have the notes for her Instagram, but we should check out that story. And on how I love how
yeah, yeah,
my son does skateboarding, so
yeah.
I love skateboarders. I saw.
Yes, she's so cool.
Yeah, no, great to hear. And the other thing that I've noticed in your photography is that there is both the intensity, but there is a pause of human resilience that you do especially the picture that got me to you when I was looking at your friend's sick family that you picked photographed, and the amount of things, like you had a picture with a goat and the family farm, and I like how you club the human life with all the things around it. And is that by design, or it just happens, right? What that you see a family and you see how they interact with the environment and just shoot it. Talk to me about what happened that day when you went to that family, and give us a little bit of inside information, if I have to say, that the TMZ scoop on the family.
Yeah, yeah. Know their son, and their son is a very 2026 internet connection. But anyways, I followed the son on Instagram, and he was posting some of the animals from the farm, and I was like, "Hey, can I take some pictures? Like, can I come over and take some photos?" And he was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And then I knew his parents were around too, so then I asked, "Can I also take some pictures of your parents there?" And he was like, "Oh my God, they'd love it." So I was like, "Okay, cool." And I show up. And it's one of those things I really love, showing up in environments where I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to expect, but it also makes me really um, scared. I'm also like, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. But I guess I'm addicted to that feeling in some sense. And so yeah, I showed up and the parents were so sweet and they just gave me a whole little tour of all the animals and stuff. And then I was like, "Can we go inside? I want to check it out." And they're like, "Yeah, for sure." And there was that kind of just like all this memorabilia um, on that right in the kitchen. And I saw it and I knew, I was like, "Oh, I want a picture of them right there." So yeah, we made that happen. But yeah, while they were showing me all the animals and stuff, I shot
Yeah.
them with, the goats and the horses and stuff. So
Yeah. But I bet when you go to a Punjabi family like this, they're not going to turn you around without food. So you must have had some memorable food experiences across so
yeah,
many of your visits.
yeah, they were so sweet. Yeah, mom was gonna go pray, so she left pretty fast after. But yeah, they were so sweet. We sat around and talked for a little bit longer, and then I had to go pretty quick. But yeah, they were very kind,
Yeah, yeah,
definitely.
yeah. And I think it's a good segue into my other question, right? As you look up yourself, Claire, and we as human too, right? Our acceptance level usually as we grow as humans starts to harden. But I
Mm,
bet in the way you work and the way you're finding people, when you reflect back at your own acceptance level and just understanding the bigger world, what change has transpired in you and the advocacy that you do for Fresno? What do you see, right, in yourself as you look back, and what do you see that you're going to be adding as into your work of the work as you grow into the space of expression with
yeah,
art?
yeah. I think I just have always enjoyed seeing where I can go and who I can interact with. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I guess I'm like an opportunist in that way. Like if people invite me to things and maybe I don't know who's going to be there, what's going on, I will usually say yes, just to see what's going on and stuff. And I think again, just having so much pride being here and just how diverse and how strong people are here. And to me, it's really beautiful. Um, so yeah, and again, for me, I think my own positionality, like I just always feel incredibly honored and humbled that people allow me into their spaces and trust me to document them because I think it's a really vulnerable thing. And like most photographers, like we don't really like being documented, that much. But I think for me, yeah, I don't take it lightly when people allow me into those spaces because it's like I'm just getting a little piece of their world and they're sharing it with me. So I think
Yeah,
it's just incredibly humbling and beautiful that I've been able to do that.
yeah. I'm I'm also assuming, right, as you are doing this, that a sense of gratitude already is with the families, but when people are looking at your picture, especially in, in the places where you have exhibited, that there is a sense of bonding that is naturally happening within the broader community of Fresno, that you are connecting things while the world is, a sense of division already exists in the air in
Hmm.
in the present
Yeah.
time, but you're doing the other way around. You're saying, hey, that sense of division is not the true wind. We are all connected through our stories. Do you feel that when you talk to your folks that you have photographed, and people, when you meet other people, how do they compliment for your work that you do?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's always in the back of my brain, like just how diverse it is here. And so, I kind of set aside, if I do have any biases, I try and set them aside as much as possible. And yeah, I think sometimes it's kind of comedic to like show the, differences here in Fresno. Like I've photographed some Mormon kids in the neighborhood, and they go on their bikes and they preach, and that's not anything that I would necessarily support, but I think I was like, well, they're here, they're in my neighborhood, so like, and it's part of it is part of the culture here, and so for me to be able to like set it aside when it maybe does possibly rub me the wrong way. But I think it's really good because I think, again, like the bigger picture is I want people to be able to look through my work and see how, yeah, diverse it
Yeah,
is. And,
yeah.
the contrast of people that live here is, I think, can be pretty funny sometimes.
Yeah, like it is a cities of cities, and a mini world resides in Fresno in many ways, right? There are probably so many different communities, and that's, I think, the beauty of America in many ways, but Central Valley especially,
Hmm.
where both, such a welcoming place for the blue class workers, but agriculture workers, right? So a lot of new immigrants make it here, and in case of even Sikh immigrants that have come in the last 50, 60 years, a lot of them who do agriculture are in Central Valley. But I want to focus a little bit about on you now, just, as if you were to capture your own story one day of a day, I say, okay, somebody's photographing Claire. What would that day look like? How does paint us a picture of Claire? Like, how does she infuse her life? What goes on? Are you a coffee drinker or a tea drinker? What kind of pets you have? What's your go-to to shake off some of the inertia that builds up? And give us a little bit about your life and how you go about doing things you do.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm not a morning person. I wish I was. Yeah, I feel so I sleep in. That's my day. I do love coffee. Yeah, what's a day in life? Yeah, I've been biking a lot more. So less walking and more biking. But yeah, day in life, yeah, going to work, trying to figure out what else I want to document. I think again, I'm in this weird phase in my process where I am reaching out more to people, or it's less that I'm stumbling upon someone walking, but now I want to be in, people's homes or backyards. So
Yeah,
right now I'm really trying to figure out what
yeah,
that looks like to like, you know, reach those ways. But yeah, to unwind, I love to have a beer with friends. That's my favorite. I love patios, so anyone that's got a little patio, it's my favorite place to be with friends. So,
awesome. Are you thinking of venturing out beyond Fresno for your photography, or story capture? Are you thinking going beyond Fresno someday, or are you going to stick to Fresno for a while?
oh yeah, I right now I really have so much pride and inspiration from the Central Valley. I've been able to travel a little bit with my work, like via group exhibitions or something, and I just feel like it's always funny. I never bring my camera like outside of the valley, really. Like I was in Sacramento a few weekends ago for a group show I was a part of, and I didn't bring my camera. And all the photographers, they all kind of freaked out on me. They were like, "What? Like you didn't bring a camera?" And I
Yeah,
was like, "Yeah, I mean, I think I just tell people like it's not my turf. I don't know what's happening. Like I don't have a pulse on Sacramento. I don't know what's going on." And so like that's not home, and so I kind of don't want to document it for those reasons. And so I
yeah,
feel really guilty. I want all my photos to be from the Central Valley right now. But, never say never. I maybe one day, yeah, I'll want to document other places, but I think for now, I just have so much love here and there's so much here that I have like yet to see. So I think it
yeah.
just feels unending, unending here. So yeah.
Oh, that's good to hear. Talking about cameras, right? And I know this we live in the world of iPhones and but do you have a preference? What do you shoot with and how did you get uh, comfortable with shooting with that? Or
Mm. I mostly shoot with film. Well, I've only ever shot with film. Um, and it was a lot of trial and error. The community taught me a lot. There's like a good little group here in the Central Valley called I think Central Valley Camera Club. I think that's what they're called. But they're all super sweet. Anytime I have a question or anytime I've had some sort of hiccup, I know I can like call one of them and they'll help me out with my gear. So I always say, yeah, I don't know my gear that well. I know what I want to see, I know what I want to
yeah,
document, but I think when it comes to the gear, that's why I feel like I'm 65 years old and I'm not sure how to use it, but I find my way. But I just, for all the gearheads out there, they probably would,
yeah.
die in there.
In
They
terms
saw
of
me and
yeah,
how I use. Yeah.
yeah, no, that's good to hear that the community is there. And film is also right. There is a art to it, but also the processing, right? You have to process the film, right? And that is something, you have to have community around it so you can. Do you do it at your home or do you go through somebody to process your film?
To process it, I usually go to someone else. Yeah, I'll usually ship it to another lab. Yeah, but other than that,
Yeah.
uh, yeah,
And and when you probably share the prints with your clients, right, the feeling of holding something that was not captured, they probably never see what you click, right? Unless you're clicking with iPhone, but the real things only comes out when you show them. So that the lapse between doing and I think there's probably a sense of satisfaction when you get the prints in hand. Oh, this was it, right? Because I think the world we live in, where we want instant gratification,
yeah.
the time period for this to bake probably adds more
Hmm.
to the flavor of your capture.
Yeah, and it's a good practice for me because I'm also very much in that world of instant gratification, and so it's a good practice for me to be patient. And you ship off your film, and you got to wait like a week or two. So it's good for me. That's definitely, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good cause.
Yeah. And every click is also not the cost is a big thing, but every click you're doing on a purpose, right? You're not just clicking randomly all the
Yeah.
time, right? You define the purpose. Awesome. One last question, and then I want to make sure that you get the last words. Is that as you picked this on the fly, right, and as you were growing up, and when you look back to your days in Fresno, and walking, you said was one of the things, right, and the gift that you got in the art, what art has done to you, and how you're capturing life in terms of people and whatnot that you do today has has the evolution of this, as you look around in the world we live today and the advocacy you do, you would say, Taran, if it was not for the camera, I won't be advocating for Fresno as much because I would live in my digital echo chamber. Is that something that you feel that, more and more the expression of art, especially with local communities, makes you go around and advocate for the things that Fresno is all about, right? And you mentioned that, like, how housing has erupted as a major point of contention in Fresno because people are moving outwards, and there is less land, and people are not thinking authentically what would Fresno need, but they're just talking about things that what others need in Fresno rather than what Fresno natively needs for its own growth and on its own history.
And I think there's a lot of local government that is pushing a lot of bad policies and pushing for, further expansion and money for these new developments instead of investing in the neighborhoods that are already here. But also you have a lot of people in those neighborhoods that are ready and willing to fight for the neighborhoods and the community. So it just depends on who you're talking to and what they see of it. But
Yeah,
I don't feel like I have the best pulse on everything.
yeah, but I think
Yeah,
just being
I'm
just
seeing both sides for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, having and just seeing you involved in the city is kudos to you. I just like people, those who live in the city and advocate for their own local environment. What is funny that there are two Sikh gentlemen standing for city council for the first time in Fresno, and I think two different districts, which will be interesting.
Yeah.
That's the race I'm closely
Yeah.
watching to see what happens.
Yeah.
And that's
I know. And one of them, he's in my district too, which I think is
oh
really cool. Yeah, I think he's amazing.
yeah.
I'm blanking on his name.
Uh,
But yeah, I think it's really awesome too. I met him the other day at my work, but yeah.
yeah, no, good to hear. Good to hear. And I think my last question is not a question, but I think anything that you want to share with our audience, those who are picking up their creative journeys or are doubtful of their journeys when they click, for when they're starting their own artist journey and finding their own space and rhythm and expression, right? Any words for them? Anything that you want to share?
Do what you love. I know it sounds cheesy, but if you love it, yeah, I would say play with it and mess around and try different things and see what sticks and um yeah, yeah. I feel like photography is pretty addictive for me, and so you can find something that you love that much and are obsessed with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this
Do
was a
it
great.
do it because you love it, not because
Yeah.
of any other reason. I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, there is always a frame waiting for you. You just have to figure out which frame is that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this was awesome. Thank you, Claire, for making time for us and having this beautiful conversation. And I want to add all your Instagram feed and website information along the way. But I love looking at the pictures that you post. It's a flavor that is real and something that we all value. So please keep doing what you're doing, and all the best. And anytime you step out of Fresno and decide Bay Area, I'm waiting on my patio for you.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. I love it. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the Conversation Trails of the Mountain in Us podcast. Each episode here is crafted with love, adventure, and reflection. We hope you have enjoyed this one, and we welcome your thoughts on it. And if you want to be on the show, feel free to reach out.